Good morning and welcome to Top of the Morning. This week we will begin a series of shows covering the STEM Consortium. STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. The consortium, the bringing together of all the players across the state of Oklahoma and across the nation who impact STEM education in Lawton, Fort Sill. We're going to discuss how we work together to maximize STEM education and how we leverage the FISTA for high-tech jobs and more STEM funding. We hope you will enjoy the show. During today's program, we will showcase Ryan Walter's visit to Lawton, Fort Sill on 5 November. Ryan is the 7th Secretary of Education for Oklahoma. He was appointed to this position by Governor Stitt in 2020. Across the day, Ryan visited our schools to include the new Learning Resource Center and the FISTA, the Fires Innovation, Science and Technology Accelerator. It was Ryan's first visit to Lawton, Fort Sill. He made time to share with our teachers, business leaders, and community volunteers. Ryan was very interested to learn about the innovation going on in our community concerning science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM education. In particular, he was interested in how we were organizing the STEM Consortium to ensure that we maximized the opportunities associated with the FISTA. Like us, Ryan is looking for ways to grow the workforce and prepare for high-tech jobs. We were very pleased to find that Ryan was looking to apply our model to the rest of the state. And even more importantly, he was looking for ways to ensure our efforts to advance STEM education would be a resounding success. I hope you find our visit informative. Top of the morning. Thank you so much for coming and spending time with us today. We really appreciate that. Really appreciate all of your comments and your attitudes about education and the things you want to do for the state. We appreciate you and thank you so much for sharing with us.
Well, I'm just so impressed what I've seen here in Lawton. I'm so impressed with what you all have done, as a community, as the military aspect of the community, the business community, the education system here. It's been incredible to watch how you all have worked together and really putting together something that I haven't seen anywhere else around the state.
I see your I Love Lawton pin.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to see that. Our Mayor, Stan Booker, would be thrilled to see you wearing that.
Yes, sir.
And I'll be sure and tell him that you had it on.
Absolutely. Tell him that for sure. I've been, like I said, I've just been so impressed. Spent the day here today. Got to learn about, so many different things are going on here. The energy here, the leadership I see here from all these different folks inside the community is really, really impressive.
Well, thank you so much for that. I guess the elephant in the room, the first question, what does STEM education mean to the future of Oklahoma?
So one of the things that we've been looking at is when you look at where workforce is headed, when you look at the jobs that are available, you see an incredible amount of STEM jobs. And a lot of times I think people think about STEM jobs as being, just these computer science or really high level type jobs in the tech world. And that's part of it. But what we also see is computer science being embedded in all industry. And you see technology being embedded in all industry. And it's really, really important now. We had a speaker earlier today who talked about, hey, when I went to school, we weren't using cell phones. And now, can you imagine not doing a job where you weren't on your phone or using a computer? And the reality is now, the more that we get students at earlier ages involved, whether it's STEM, whether it's engineering classes, whether it's technology classes, but when they see the practical application of technology in their educational experience and how that ends in a career, a fulfilling career, an exciting career, we're going to see tremendous growth from our students, because that's one of the things, as the Secretary of Education, I look around the state and I look at kids, and one of the things that concerns me is sometimes the apathy, right? You have a lot of apathy among certain student groups, and to connect for them what the skills they're learning, what that looks like in the workforce, what a job looks like in that field. You can see students that traditionally haven't performed academically that get excited. You can see students that are, of high IQ, but they're just not, they're not finding their way. Boom, that application really brings them in line and more motivated. So I see that here. I that's part of what's really excited me today is really a vision that goes from the beginning of a child's education to the end.
It's your passion for education is very obvious. I saw in your bio you're an award-winning teacher, so you're obviously a very good teacher, and your passion shows. And we appreciate that. We certainly want to have a Secretary of Education who is passionate about what he's doing. And what you said is a great segue to the next question. Today, you spent a good deal of time at the Life Ready Center. What do you think about that and that approach?
I think it's just tremendous that the school has taken the mindset to say, what we're going to do is we're going to ensure that we have 3 high schools in the city. We've got in the school district. We have multiple programs. We have multiple teachers with unique talents. And what we want to ensure is no matter what high school you go to, you can have access to these different types of options. And so at the Life Readiness Center, what I saw was an incredible collaborative effort by the district to ensure that every child has that opportunity. And we got to see innovation from ag, from photography, from art, from just very real world application to a lot of these different subject areas. And one of the things that I think has always stood out to me is our Secretary of Veteran Affairs, General Ben Robinson, always says, really, he thinks the workforce question begins when you ask a child what they want to be when they grow up. Mm-hmm. That's really when workforce begins to emerge in a child's mind, when they start thinking about the different jobs that are available to them. What I've seen here is a dedicated effort from the school to say, we're going to have that conversation early. And when we find your passion, when we find that pathway for you, we're going to ensure we do all we can to knock down barriers and ensure you have pathways to end your academic career, preparing you for that pathway.
Yeah, that's a great answer. When you made your introductory comments today about what you thought was important to you, I thought the Life Ready Center was made for you. Yeah. You know, and that you would feel right at home there. So I really appreciate your comments. You know, we talked a lot about the FISTA. We're in the FISTA as we speak, the Fires Innovation Science and Technology Accelerator. But I'd like to ask you, you know, the FISTA is special. It's an R&D and S&T facility, research and development, science and technology. What do you think that Oklahoma can do to leverage the FISTA for STEM education in this state?
Absolutely. What I've seen here, and again, it's just so exciting to see what's going to come in the following year. But what I've seen here at the FISTA is you've seen these groups come together. You've seen the military, you've seen defense contractors, you've seen the education system, you've seen the business community all come together to say, what we're going to do is we've got some really complex problems, and we are going to invest in our best and brightest minds in all these different industries to solve them. I think there's nothing more exciting for a young person. And honestly, there's nothing more exciting for our teachers to say, we've got these really complex world problems and we want you to try to solve them. And when kids are going to be exposed to seeing engineers work with engineers, being able to see these teams working together and have these type of conversations, I think what you're going to see is you're going to see an engagement from young people that's going to be incredibly impressive. But I also think what you're going to see is you're going to see those education outcomes soar, because again, when students can connect what they're learning to real world application, when you can connect a child and what they're learning to an aspirational vision of I could work in this job, what you begin to see is that hope that kids have really fulfill itself in results. And so I am so excited to see the FISTA step really get going. But also I think around the state, what you're going to see is folks that are going to try to replicate these efforts by pointing to that and saying, look what happens when you bring all these communities together and get them to work towards that end.
That's super. I appreciate that. And that should be very encouraging to our viewers.
Absolutely. And so I think that the work you all are doing, I can't be complimentary enough. I think that this is the way to solve our workforce issues in the state, is to get all of these actors involved that touch in workforce, that work in workforce, come up with a goal. I know you guys came up with a 5-year plan. This was intense work on the front end, whether it's grants, sponsorships, funding. How do we fit all this together to create something that's unique, that fulfills a 5-year vision type plan? I think this is an incredible example of what can be done when you've got leadership that's focused on doing what's best for their young people, knowing that there's no better investment than investing in your young people, because the reality is, when you look at your community in the future, you want young people to come back. You want young people to never leave, to have jobs available, to have higher learning available, training available, where they can continue to give back to the community. And what I see here is I see those pipelines, whether it is going through the career tech and higher ed, or whether it is entering into these types of training opportunities as well. I think what you're going to see here is these young people that want to continue to stay involved and be involved in the community. And it's really exciting for Lawton. And for me, it's really exciting because I am excited for Lawton, but I'm also excited at being able to point the rest of the state to Lawton and say, look at what they're doing here. Look at the energy here. Let's do this in other parts of the state.
I think that's wonderful news. I really appreciate that coming from you. Ryan, again, thank you so much for coming down and spending the day with us. You've been a delight. Our constituents, the folks who watch Top of the Morning, they don't get to visit with the Secretary of Education. And now they've had an opportunity to get to know you a little better. But I would ask you, when people think about you and think about Oklahoma's Secretary of Education, what do you want them to think?
I've been a teacher. This is my 11th year as a teacher. I was a teacher full-time for 8 years. I'm a parent. I've got 4 little ones at home.
Oh, wow.
The oldest is 7, 4, 2, and then I got a 4-month-old at home as well.
Congratulations.
So I've got the full hands at home. But I've always tried as a teacher to do what was best for all the kids in my class and treat them as individuals and really try to empower them so that they would have as much opportunity at success as possible. I try to do the same thing with my kids. They're all different, they're all unique. It's funny how you can already see it at such a young age. And I've tried, and I will continue to try to do that for all 700,000 Oklahoma students, is to represent them as individual students with unique pathways, with unique talents, and to try to make sure that we're doing all that we can to take everyone involved. And the thing I love most about education is you've got the excitement and hope of our young people, but also it touches everybody. I mean, everyone's got a kid or a grandkid, or they went through the education system themselves. We've all been touched by the education system, where we all are actively involved in it. So there's the opportunity to bring folks together and say, look, our common goal is to better this so that our young people can have every opportunity to success. And to me, it's just such an exciting endeavor to be a part of. And I have been very blessed to be in the role that I have been. But I would hope that everyone would see me as someone who tries to be a champion for all Oklahoma students. I try to be a coalition builder and work with everyone and get feedback from all these parties, because again, parents, community leaders, teachers, school leaders, all of these are folks that are actively involved in our education system, and that partnership is crucial if we're going to take Oklahoma forward. And I'm unapologetic that I think we should lead the country in education. And it's not because, you want to be ranked there because you want the ranking or for the data, but it's because if we're leading the country in education, that means our young people, every one of them, are being put in the best opportunity to be successful. And that's what I hope for Oklahoma education.
I think that's a wonderful statement and a wonderful picture of you. And I can tell you, having spent the day with you, it's easy to believe. Thank you so much.
I sure appreciate your time. Thank you, Nate.
Thank you.